What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Hustlers. I'm your host, Loss. We've got my man, Pat MacFie, on today. Roll that intro, baby.
I gotta stay on my hustle, you know that I'm grinding for sure. I came up right from the bottom, now they see me chasing my goals. Now they see me on the go, yeah. Now they see me on the road. It's time to hustle, yeah, it's time to grow. I'ma shoot for the stars and we aim for the gold. It's time to hustle, yeah, it's time to grow.
We've got, obviously, we've rebranded. This is now the Hustlers podcast, previously 138 podcast. But it's not technically our first podcast, but I guess it sort of is a new sort of light for us. Started as a freelancing, content producing kind of guy. He was the global head of video and global director of media at Xero. He is now the co-founder of Chooice. I think you guys did, over $2 million in sales in your first year?
Yeah.
Under a year?
What's the date today?
July something. 28th-ish?
Yeah, we still got like 15 days maybe. I don't know, it's right, 2.2 right now.
That's going back into the hands of small businesses in New Zealand.
Yes.
The co-founder of Manaaki, Indigo, where we're sitting today, Indigo Studios, the host of Real Talk, Pat MacFie. What's up, brother? Thanks for having me.
This mic is kind of my
a huge...
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, I guess I do want to start as just to say a huge thank you to you for allowing us to use the facility and
it's all good.
Help sort of level up our content game, I guess, because that's kind of the age we live in at the moment.
100, bro. This is what this place is all about. You've seen it this morning. We had the guys over here doing the shoot for the Ponsonby Panthers series, upcoming series. Got dudes over in the studio over there making music. Got creative team out there producing dope content and doing stuff for our own platforms and our brands. That's what this place is about.
Fuck yeah, we were just talking about today how cool it is just coming in and just seeing everyone sort of with that creative side, just like looking through that window and seeing dudes rapping and making music. Like, fuck, that's cool, bro. Like,
it's the biggest thrill for me, bro. Like, just to go out there and just sit in there and just be in there and just be like undercover and just nobody knows. And it's like, wow, just having to listen. But it's just so inspirational. Like, I walked in there last night when the bro Diaz was in there and he was mixing his track that he's just done, and it's got Hiniwihi on it and stuff, and I was listening to it and it was just, what? You know, it was really mind-blowing, the sound and all the phonics and just like, but for that to be in our spot and for that type of creativity and this type of creativity coming out of here, and it's all helping to feed small business. Like, that's what this is, right? This is small business. So to me, that's the richest reward.
And like it's only been 7-8 months since you've been in this spot, so...
Yeah. December we moved in. December must be 2020. Is it 21?
2020.
Yeah, December 2020. We got the lease finally. And then we, because it wasn't like this. It was like, your granddad's crappy back shed. And so we got the floors got polished and walls painted, and that whole room there got rebuilt. Upstairs got rebuilt, downstairs got gutted and decorated. Upstairs gutted and decorated. So it was a bit of work. We kind of worked through Christmas and had a lot of help, and by the middle of January we were in.
I want to make a quick shout out to our sponsor of the podcast.
Let's go.
Bout Fitness. You might have seen them on my page a bit. I actually go there myself.
That's a gym.
So it's like a hit training gym. You do a bit of boxing, but you also do a bit of everything.
I only ever see you doing one-legged squats on your Insta. That's always it's the same thing, bro.
You can blame them. They come up with the workouts.
That's an interesting one exercise.
Kane and Estelle Bajent, they started it. They have an amazing story. I'm getting them on the podcast at some point. They sort of went to Aussie, started saving, came back and just put everything into a gym. Cool. And it's now turned into like a real cool culture thing. It's almost like a sports team, bro. So cool. Everyone vibes with it. Everyone's like family in it. There's a Facebook page where everyone sort of gets around it, helps each other out. I offer discounts to people that go to Bout for our clothes.
Yeah.
And just as like a little touch in there, if you want, we've got a bit of a deal with them. So if you mention Hustlers in at the gym, you get a $0 joining fee. So save yourself $50 in your first week free. Try it out. Got nothing to lose.
Sounds like a deal. Is it in Tauranga or the Mount?
It's in Mount, and then there's also one in Papamoa. So they've opened 2.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so they're doing well.
I go to Papamoa on Christmas holidays. I might go check it out.
Yeah, you might have to. Do a little summer, keep the rig in shape while you're having a few drinks.
Yeah, I got to get the rig in shape so that then the rig can have a shape, because the rig ain't got no shape right now.
Bro, like any good stories, it's always good to go from the start.
Yeah.
How did everything start for you, bro? If we sort of go back to, I guess, the start of your journey in a bit of a nutshell, your upbringing and whatnot.
Ooh, damn. Shit, bro. I think most relevant place to start is just the most formative place, I guess. So, grew up single parent family. It was crazy because my dad did well in life and in business, and my parents were married until I was like 9, and then they got divorced, and my dad was a hotel manager at the time. So it was pretty different for a Māori man to have that type of role, you know, in the 80s. And then so we lived in a hotel, bro. Can you imagine? Like my bro and I, like our bedroom was like a hotel room. Crazy, eh? And then so we'd go down to the restaurant for breakfast in the morning, and we'd have a driver take us to school.
What?
And pick us up, and then like every day, you just, as we were walking out the door, we'd walk past the restaurant, get our prepared lunch.
But do you know what that reminds me of? Did you ever watch that Disney show, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody? Have you seen that?
Nah, no.
Well, you need to watch that. That might bring back a few memories. This is exactly. Anyway,
Okay.
carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So that was our life, and then there was the hotel had the Spaceys parlor in there, and you just go play Spaceys and learn how to talk about hustle, bro. Actually, that's when I learned how to hustle people playing pool when I was a kid. Because I became really good at pool.
Yeah.
Because I'd go into the bar on the weekends, every day, because pubs used to open 11 a.m. So I just get up 8 o'clock, Saturday, Sunday, and just go play pool. And if it was school holidays, I'd play pool every day before school and every day before the bar opened in the holidays. I just got really good at a young age. And so then I would go in at night after closing time, which is 11 o'clock, and there'll be all these drunk men, and I'll play them for money, bro. I was 10, 11, 12 in the pool in the public bar, the Lake Hotel in Taupo, and I was just playing all these fully grown older men for $5, $10 a game.
But that's a definition of a hustler.
That was hustle back then, bro. Yeah, I was a little hustler. But what happened is my parents got divorced, and my mum grew up rural as little rural town called Whatawhata on the way out to Raglan, just outside of Hams. And when my parents divorced, we went from living in a hotel, and then we went and lived in Fairfield, Fairfield and Hamilton with my cousins, the King sisters, the King whānau. What's up, girls? And then my mum, she was a hustler too, bro. And so she figured out that if you put yourself into a really bad situation in terms of your living circumstance, you can get on this emergency housing list. So my other auntie just happened to have 10 kids, herself and her partner, living in their 3-bedroom house at 5 Crossroads. And so we moved in there. And so there was 12 kids, 3 adults in a 3-bedroom house. Bruh, straight up scraps for freaking Weet-Bix in the morning. Just I know there's one thing, there's sharing your bathwater, but there's being last and having shared.
Not even a bath anymore.
Bruh, 11, I'd rather go swim in the river, bro. It would have been cleaner. So that was life, and we eventually got into our own state house, which was awesome, over in Melville, Norrie Street, Beta Street. 8435. And so we grew up in that hood, and it was tough. It was a Black Power neighborhood, but they were all whānau. They were my mum's cousins and stuff, and so actually super safe. Yeah. But just the calamitous nature of shit that went down in that neighborhood was horrific, right? people dying, like little kids drowning because their parents weren't around, and the gully down the back in the stream. People trying to break into our house and fucking rape my mum because they knew there was a solo mother in the house, and so you just like people jumping through your windows and shit. And we studied Kyokushin karate when we were young, and so like we just get our nunchucks out and we were like whacking people's hands trying to jump through the windows and shit. What? And it was intense, bro. It was intense. But I don't like. It's only in retrospect we think it's intense. Like just when you're back there, it's like, well, yo, this is life.
Yeah.
But, you learn the code. You learn to keep your head down, walk straight, don't say smart shit to anybody that looks scary, and then just get on with it. Eventually, you grow up and you make friends. And
how old were you then at this point?
Man, it was about like I think we moved into Melville, into Norrie Street when I was like I'm gonna say standard 3. So that must be like 8.
Okay, yeah.
And my brother was 6, I guess. But like 8 or 9. 9. No, sorry, my bad. We're 10th. Well, I had my 10th birthday at my auntie's house. So I was 10, 11. But by the time I'd been there, because of my dad's career, like I had been to 8 different primary schools before we finally...
Wow.
Yes, I did have friends and shit. Like I didn't understand the concept of that type of friendship.
Did that affect you? Like, do you think?
Fuck yeah.
Like you noticed the effect at the time, or you notice it probably now looking back at it?
Totally, man. I'm kind of a friendless motherfucker, to be honest, bro. Like I don't have close friendships, 1 or 2. I feel quite envious of people that go out with their crews and with their boys and stuff. But I don't. Yeah, I find it difficult to relate to people like that.
Right.
But then I just let this be my this.
I was going to say
my point of connection.
Yeah.
And stack it with meaning and purpose, and just let that be how I fulfill that part of my life.
Do you think? Because I've talked to a few of my boys about this, and we've always wondered if coming up, growing up with adversity like that, would have a direct effect on how you take on life. Like how you get to where you get to, and like you look at all these top sports players in the NBA, and that majority of them come from rough upbringings and have come through adversity growing up. Do you think that it has something to do with it, or do you think?
Well, adversity builds character 100, right? But I think environment is the most formative thing. Like if you can build character, that's great. If you can apply that character in an environment that is got more potential than some of the environments that we come up with, because you can't be it if you can't see it. And so in the United States, if you talk about professional sports, for the last couple of decades, there's been a pathway that everybody has known about to get out of the ghetto through professional sports. So it's kind of like a known pathway. But, when I was a lot younger, there's no such thing as professional sports. And so that adversity kind of builds character, but it kind of also leads you, in directions. Like you need to be able to step outside of the environment and the realities of that environment to see other truths that other people live. Because unless you can see that, you don't know that there's an option. You don't know that there's other. And so the reason that I guess I was able to get out is because I'd seen that other world before I went into the hard life. And I'd seen like wealth, and then like even while my parents were divorced, and I would come up to Auckland and work in the family restaurant every weekend, catch the bus up on a Friday night, and then walk into the restaurant was in Victoria Street, and then just like work till 3 a.m. in the morning, Friday, Saturday, catch the bus home Sunday, go to school Monday. Did that for like 5th form, 6th form, 7th form. But I saw different shit that my friends that, I run into one of my bros recently, and he was just homeless on the street. And, I seen one of my bros that I came up with, and he died in a fire in Christchurch. He was living rough in a space above a whorehouse. And, or like a lot of my friends in prison, A lot of my friends fill in all the negative statistic categories, but they couldn't see nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's the responsibility that I take seriously, is to show people that there's something else. That's why I went back last year, and my wife and I started our foundation, and we started giving away $5,000 cash grants to promising Māori students at my old high school.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And we're going to do that again this year. We'll double down. We'll do 2 this year. But I do that so that they can see that, like, despite the dire nature of your circumstance, you may look like you got no options. You may feel like you got no options. People may tell you got no options, but here's an option. And I think as long as, you know, at ground level, I can continue to make impact like that. That's it, bro.
I think you're doing a good job at it, bro.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What about after that? So obviously you moved to Melville.
Yeah, then I moved up to Auckland after my finished high school. Didn't do no university, nothing. To be honest, I didn't know what university was. I had aspirations of being the next MC Hammer BMX freestyler champion of the world. Neither of those things worked out particularly well. But came up here, worked in the family restaurant, and then, again, it was just another side of life. I think what that taught me, and that, because we had a couple of restaurants and bars, is that it taught me that, kind of taught me that baseline understanding of human nature. You know, if you're young-ish and observant, and you're in those environments where you see baseline behavior manifest consistently every day in the form of people getting turned, and you see the nature of people come out, you begin to develop a picture of what you understand baseline of humanity to be. And so that just taught me human nature. And like, actually the fundamentals of understanding human nature, I think, are the very same fundamentals that we apply to growing communities and social media. So I did that for a minute, and my dad got involved in production. And then one day he called me out of the blue and said, like, I was doing nothing. I'm just bumming around. He's like, do you want to come do a day on set? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like turning up, and then it's just like, I was best boy on the set. I didn't know what that meant. For me, it was code for bum boy. And so I just carried lights around all day, and I was on a production set, not too different from the space we're in here right now, actually.
What was it for? Do you remember?
Nah, it was just I was just in the studio. Wasn't anything particularly great.
TV show?
Yeah,
or
TV
like
show, and they were just telling me, you know, put this light there, put that light there. But I loved the experience of that whole production world, and that kind of set me up on my journey in production. It was about 1995 by then.
You touched on the uni bit there. What are your opinions on going or not going to university? And do you, for me, I think it's dependent on what you want to do. But I'll just be keen to get your take on what
I think
your
it's
opinions
entirely,
on university.
Like, you can't not go to university if you want to be a doctor,
Yeah, exactly.
lawyer. Like, you know, there's certain things. But for outside of those professional service categories, I don't believe that but I'm like, you know, I've got my own point of view, bro, because I never went to university anyway. So I'm like, I don't really completely understand the value of it. I understand the value of when you want to be in a professional service, the extent to which you have a university education is the extent to which you can earn money in that profession, you know, as a way in.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I look at it. But I look at the impact that we're making with like our own programs here, like our Digital Doers program, where it's in response to massive seismic change in the way that small business operates, and we're being able to create a new category of job called a digital doer. It was essentially a digital generalist, and that role didn't exist before. And so now we, you know, after 12 weeks, you know, you can have somebody that's on the benefit, like on a job seeker benefit, and they can go from earning $426 a week to, in 12 weeks, they can go and get a job as a digital generalist earning $1,150 gross. You know?
Yeah.
That's double once you go net on what you earned before. And you did that in 12 weeks. And probably if you stick in that career in digital, you can go like, 110, 130, 160, 180, whatever.
Yeah.
Long term. And so the notion that you need to stay in tertiary traditional education pathways to earn a six-figure income, boost your household income, I think is inaccurate. It's not wrong, it's not a lie, but it's inaccurate. That is not the only way.
And it's also like you would know that our parents of this generation are probably quite, they like to push our kids towards university because I guess that's all they've known as a pathway to getting a good job, get a degree and get a good job.
Yeah.
And
I just said to my son, I was just like, because he's 12 now, and I said to him, man, I don't care about your school. I don't care about your report. I don't care about you going to college or university. What I care about is that you find your purpose in life. And for as long as it takes, Mum and Dad will support you to find your purpose in life. And then when you find your purpose, Mum and Dad will enable you. But it's more important that you find your purpose than you find a fucking career.
100%. Well, I mean, how much of our life do we spend working?
Yeah.
I've always said it and I think I've always had this sort of mindset where if I'm going to be working or if I'm going to be, supporting my family in some sort of way, I want it to be fun. And if I'm going to, I've got to be enjoying it. Otherwise, I've never ever or never will, and no disrespect to people who do, I admire their hustle actually, that they can do it, but I couldn't see myself going to something that I didn't enjoy week in, week out, getting to Friday and being like, thank God it's the weekend, and just repeating that every week.
Totally. I can't live like that either. But, in the absence of options.
Some have to.
Yeah.
100%.
Some have to. And I admire people that have the discipline to do that and in support of their whānau, because there's nothing wrong with it, man. It's so honourable. My mum worked 2 jobs as a cleaner. She worked at Centre Place in Hamilton, cleaning the food court during the day, and then she would come home, give us our dinner, and then she'd go do an evening shift at Waikato Hospital, cleaning the hospital. And of course that meant we're at home, but she did what she had to do,
That sort of survival mode, that kind of mindset, I think also ignites more when you have family, you have kids, and
Totally.
I would never have understood it completely. Obviously, I've just had my first son.
Congratulations.
He's 8 months old now.
Different, eh?
Yeah, it's just like that feeling where you literally would do anything for them. You would die for them, and so
Totally.
going to a job that you didn't enjoy, if it was to enable them to do something, or if it was enable them to live a different life, you would absolutely do it.
And that was the mindset of my mum too. It's just and that taught me incredible understanding, just work ethic, Work ethic. Whoa. 100. If you don't see it, you can't be it.
Yeah.
So she showed us, me and my bro, what that looks like.
Yeah.
And she still models that every single day. That and just absolute humility. My grandfather, my grandmother out at Whatawhata, all my whānau, just always ringawera on the marae. That's our role. I love that we have that role. And I'll go home and I'll wash the dishes in the marae on the bench that's too low, that after 3 minutes I get a cramp in my lower back. But that's what it is, and that those parts of life, while we do all this fancy stuff, is what keeps us grounded.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, with mindset, when do you think, or can you think of some sort of time where you realised you had like an entrepreneurial mind, like, or can you think of a time where you were like, oh, okay, I think I've,
Yeah,
why do
just
I
I
think like
remember
this?
like my parents shipped me off to boarding school when I was in third form, and then after the first couple of terms, I was like, nah. Like I was an academic kid, and there wasn't a lot of emphasis put on academic achievement. I was like, nah, this is dumb. And like my whole family, I went home, was like, I ain't going back there, man. Like, you get treated like an idiot for being smart.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm like, that place sucks. And I remember they tried to get everybody to get me to go back, and then they called in the heavyweight. They called in my grandmother. And she was like, so what are you going to do then? Like, if you're not going to go back to school, like, I said, I'm not going back to that school. She goes, but that's a good school. Like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
But I had like maybe heard the word once. And all my grandmother did was laugh. Because I'm not sure that she was entirely sure what it meant as well. But yeah, that's what I said. And to me, that added up to the ability to exit my current circumstance on my own terms. And that's what I was trying to achieve.
You moved into like that role within Xero at some point. How did that all come about, and like what was your sort of role in growing that? Because I know you were a big part of growing that to what it is now, which is obviously huge.
How did I get in there? I through my experience in production, I was kind of like at the right place at the right time, because a friend of mine had come back from the US, 95, 96, must have been 96, 97, and he was telling me how much the internet was going off. And he was living in the West Coast, and his fiance, her dad, in the States they have coupons, like they cash in coupons to subsidize buying things at stores.
Yep.
And so her dad was the coupon king of America. And he had recently sold up his company to start an online grocery platform called American Grocer. And it was like, bro, they can go on this thing called a website and they can buy groceries. And this is like when Alta Vista was the hot search engine. This is before you were born, probably. And that's a trip, though, that you've grown up and you've been born the whole time the internet was around. Never lived in an internet-less world.
No.
Shucks. And so anyway, he told me about the incredible possibilities of what could happen on this thing, the internet. And I was in production. I was like, one day, video will end up on the internet. Sounds ridiculous to say now. But then I just started getting ready. And a few years later, I teamed up with a couple of guys that were involved in the startup space here, and we actually started a video production company specifically for the web when there was none. Like we were the only one in New Zealand.
Far out.
And it just so happened that we had some really good commercial partnerships at the time, and the company we were working with at the time was Telecom, and it was called Telecom back then, not Spark.
Yeah.
And we started producing videos about their customers, which everyone started calling case study videos later. What year was that? I'm going to say 2010. It was probably 2 years. I'm going to say it's probably about 2007, something like that. 2006, 2007.
Yep.
And so we started producing these videos for them. And there was a company, after being working with them for a couple of years, that they partnered with. It was just a startup at the time called Xero. And Telecom were like, we're going to do these video series with this company called Xero. They're a cloud-based accounting software company, but they're in the cloud, and so it's amazing. So fast forward, this is probably like 2010 by then. And so I went and did this shoot, which was kind of like a co-op shoot for Xero and Telecom about a company called, I think it's called Made for Baby. And hit it off with the head of PR comms at Xero at that time. Her name was Helen. And she just started getting us to do all her video for her. And so I just ended up like doing all the video here and doing video in the US and stuff in Australia for them before they had any internal capability. So we did that for about 4 years, and then they started to grow their internal team. And this mofo over here was actually the first guy.
Oh, really?
In the internal team. Yeah, PJ. What's up, PJ? PJ was the first internal hire. And there's another guy who still works with me to this day who worked for Workflow Max at the time. His name's Nadeem Malvat. And Nadeem was also like a motion graphics guy. And they were the first two guys. The internal creative agency capacity is like over 100 people there now.
Wow.
But PJ and Nadeem were the first two guys. And I remember going there and doing a workshop to teach them about storytelling for video and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I think you'd been there for maybe 3 months or something. And Nadeem had been at Workflow Max for a little while. And then it was quickly after that they got rid of me and started using that guy. And then they started doing everything internally. And so I quickly cottoned on that like that was going to be a great opportunity inside of that place. So I think it was about 18 months later. I just sent a message through to a few people I knew. I was like, what's up with what's going on in there? Like, yeah, come check it out. And we went and checked it out in the next minute. I started off there, just working in a local video role, leading video here, but understood the global vision of the company, and then ended up leading video globally. And then they moved the motion graphics and the education production into my department as well, and then increasingly involved with the brand's development and then rolling out campaigns with that team around the world for the brand. And so it just kind of, it's just all about, I think there's if there's a repeating pattern in my life, it's just that I just go all in every time.
Yeah.
And so I'm always playing for 100.
Yeah.
And so I just all in, get there, all in, get there, all in.
Yeah.
And really, a lot of people get staggered when they come to this place. It's like 800 square meter facility, blah, blah, blah. They're like, how do you get here? And I'm just like, I don't really know, but we just keep on going all in.
Yeah, yeah.
I do know, but it's just, it's partly as a result of that.
Do you reckon, like, your sort of role in that, like, with the video and stuff in Xero, like, that had one of the biggest effects on why it's so big today?
Video is definitely a central part of the brand narrative of that company.
Yeah.
But it's a great product, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Can't have a shit product no matter what you do with your brand. It's just going to be shit.
Yeah, for sure.
So definitely the product first and foremost. But, the brand is held in such high regard that you can't look past it. It plays an integral role in the way that the product is received or people engage with the product for the first time.
Fast forward a bit. I'm assuming you obviously started Chooice and Manaaki and all this after that. Do you remember like the light bulb sort of moment that you were just like, oh, I could start first of all Manaaki and then Chooice? Like, what sort of came into your head?
I was still at Xero, and the company gets to a stage where there's the right person for the right time in that company's stage of development, and I'm an aggressive growth guy, and I'm all about challenge, and I'm a champion of creativity, and increasingly it became I was not the right guy for the direction that business was heading in. And it's, you got to recognize that in yourself, and I'm incredibly grateful for the time that I spent there. But I was just like a dude out of season, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so if I was going to be true to who I was, I could have stayed there, towed the line, collected an awesome salary, got my share options every year, done all those things. But I wouldn't have been being true to myself and who I professed to be and the ambition that I had in my life. So it got to the point that was like, and I talk to my wife about it all the time. I was like, man, I'm going to leave. She goes, okay, but she wasn't really down with it because it was a good job, really good job.
Yeah, yeah.
And and then she came home one day and she goes, I just quit my job. I was like, I'm supposed to be leaving first. I was like, shit. And so She quit her job, and then I quit my job. And so that's kind of like the dumbest move I've ever made in my life. Because then we're both without an income, and we're both starting stuff from scratch.
Jump the deep end.
Bruh. But my wife's incredibly talented.
Yep.
And like, as soon as anyone hears that she's on the market, like within a day, she has multiple offers.
What does she do?
She's like a cultural advisor and cultural engagement specialist, and works closely a lot in the Te Ao Māori space, and works with large organizations to help them build meaningful relationships with communities and mana whenua and all that. And so she's incredibly talented, bruh. And it's annoying because, like, you know, if this all came down in a screaming heap, like, I would just be unemployed for ages. No one would care. I'm pretty unemployable, right? And so, her, she's like, she just gets offers coming in, big offers too. So she quit, I quit, and then I had kind of been working a little bit on the side with Monts, and we'd lined up one client, and we were doing that, and I said to him, bro, what, you know this process that we got? Like, we'd never pitch, and kind of, you know everybody, and then I've got all this expertise. Like, do you reckon we could just keep on doing that and grow a business? It's like, yeah, let's try. And so he kept on talking to people, and then I'd come in and we kept on sharing our experience, and we kept on getting more clients. Yeah. And then that mofo ended up coming work for us again. And so, it was cool because there was no pitching, there was no selling, it was just like this is our experience, this is our credibility. We can share that with you around a specific project. Are you down? And so we did, and we built a good little business pretty quickly. We launched officially in August of 2019, and by the time we came into the new year, when we first heard the rumblings of COVID on the horizon, we were going okay, we're going pretty good. Like, growth was on, and we were looking to build a really big services-based business. And one day, we were going to build a product, build a platform. COVID came and changed those plans overnight. And so our long-term plan became our only plan. Because, all the clients just disappeared. Because everyone was shutting up shop.
About this.
Yeah, and it was rough. It was rough as guts because, you have annoying people like PJ who come and work with you and pin your hopes and their hopes to each other, and like you go on this journey together. And for us, for Monts and I and my wife, the hardest thing was that we would possibly have to let people go. And so as COVID came down hard and we knew we were going down into lockdown, we spoke as a leadership group, and we said, look, we just have to get through this, and our only objective is to make sure that our team keep their jobs and nobody takes a pay cut. And so we need an idea that's going to enable us to be able to do that. And I was fortunate enough to be, with some of the clients that we worked with previously. I wouldn't call it fortunate, but I was in a unique position where, I was in Christchurch during the earthquake. And it was interesting to me as I was observing the madness that unfolded around me, the role that social media and media played in that disaster. And it also took me back to September 11th when the planes hit the Twin Towers in New York. And I was just like, what I became acutely aware of was that in the midst of a disaster, the most valuable commodity becomes information that's highly relevant to my situation, provided quickly. It's a disaster. Are my loved ones okay? Or it's a disaster, like, what do I do now? How do I find out if the people are safe? And seeing what COVID was doing around the world, we knew it was going to have that type of impact when it hit here. So on the 17th of March, we decided to come up with an idea that solved that problem. How do you get small businesses information fast about what you can do for your small business? And in the afternoon, we came up with the idea of Manaaki. And so we hired a developer in Poland off of Upwork, and he coded around the clock for 4 days, while Ja, the designer that we had here, partner in the business now, he did all the design work, and on the 25th of March, we put it live.
We took Andy, who's another business partner in all those incredible business networks, Andy Hamilton, and they became the first group of advisors that were just there to help. And, you know, our hypothesis was right. Shit went down, and everybody wanted to know, what do I do?
Yeah.
And, you know, while people were looking at the news, and the news was telling you what the latest COVID count was, we were seeing all this data from small businesses going, what do I do? Like, when will it open? When will the board, you know, when will lockdown finish? What do I have to do with my staff? Like, do I have to pay them? How do I get out of my lease?
Yeah.
Do I have to pay my power bill? And then that was the first raft of questions. And then it became about, oh my God, how long is this lockdown gonna last? How can I reach my customers? Can I still sell?
Yeah.
What's the best ways to sell? And then this whole digital adoption, like 5 to 10 years of digital adoption happened in like 3 months. And the whole world changed, the small business world changed. And we just happened to be on the vanguard at the forefront of that happening. But what I knew as a brand guy is that when you're building a brand, when you're building a business, there's this whole spectrum of engagement that goes from very practical advice, you know, pragmatic engagement, to emotional engagement. And so we were very purposeful about calling the brand Manaaki, because it wasn't just about representing, you know, this Māori, Te Ao Māori concept. It was also about the opportunity to unify the country from a small business perspective under this concept that gave business people an incredible moment, the business people that were coming to help. What we wanted to achieve for the advisors that were on the platform was we wanted to create this moment of massive pride and patriotism through their act of support to small business. And the fact that you could share your Manaaki tile to say, this is what small business means for me. This is why I'm helping small business. You know, we created a moment for those business people that's really akin to, like, it's their opportunity to stand in the middle of Eden Park in a World Cup final and do a haka. Represent their country. Like, that was that level of parochialism that that moment engendered. And we did that with our advisors, who then shared their experiences and why small business was so important to them. And that brought the first bunch of people, because they were incredibly influential business people.
Yeah.
That brought the first bunch. We repeated the process on Instagram, and then, but used more influencers for that. And then all of a sudden, we had this mainstream adoption, we had this business adoption, and we had it at scale. And in only months, we'd created a community of scale. It was all about helping small businesses.
I think if you remember, the first time that we connected was over a Manaaki Live. We are Manaaki Live, so you went live on the page. You'd made an announcement that you were going live with small businesses, and I actually got sent a link to it. Someone said, hey bro, I just thought you should know that Finn Barnett, actually, shout out to Finn Barnett, because I remember him, he messaged that to me. Go and check out We Are Manaaki. It's this new thing that's helping small businesses at the moment. They're going live with people, bro. I just thought of you. I thought you could try it. So I can't remember how it worked. I don't know if you had to book it or whatever, but I just jumped on, I remember, and we jumped on and we had a conversation.
Yeah, I remember. I remember, bro. Like, we started those because we had no footprint. Yeah. And so we were fortunate with Monks. And when it started, when lockdown hit and we decided we're going to do lives, basically Monks just called all his celebrity mates and go, would you do a quick Instagram live with Pat on the Manaaki channel?
Yeah.
And then so that exposed Manaaki to all their followers.
Right.
And then after about a week of doing that, week and a half of doing that, we had enough followers that we started doing our own lives.
Yeah.
And did those every night for frickin' 3 months, bro.
Really? Wasn't it
that long? Every single night for 3 months.
I remember just thinking, like, jumped on it straight away and obviously had no time to think about what I was going to say or whatever, and you started asking me. And to be honest, for me, it was quite a pivotal moment for my business, because I thought it was the first time where I'd really talked about my business to someone like that. And I thought, shit, I could go all day right now. I was so passionate about it. Yeah. And I think that was the pivotal moment for me, that I knew like I was really about the business as a brand and as a
Cool.
rather than the business itself. So
That's why we do what we do, bro. Because we never have. That's why I do this with you, and like we'll talk to anybody, and we'll give my time to anyone because you never know who's watching this right now. You never know whose life you're affecting. If Finn hadn't seen something, didn't know about it, didn't hit you up, like are we sitting here now?
exactly.
Well, no, we're not, right?
No.
So that's why. That's what wakes me up in the morning, bro. That's
Yeah.
like gets me excited to get out and because at the essence of it is people like you, people like me, people like people out there that the system doesn't really suit. It wasn't engineered for us. We feel like we perhaps have a greater calling or we want to achieve something that would be impossible for us to achieve inside of the system. And so we choose our own path. And that's a lot more difficult than just
Scary.
walking down a street that's been laid out for you.
Yeah.
Scary, emotional as hell.
Vulnerable. I'd say you feel quite vulnerable 100% of the time.
100, bro. And but that's why. Because for people like us and doing things like this, this is so important because it provides the other opportunity for somebody to learn, for somebody to actualize, for somebody to have a pivotal moment that can help them to go on and like, fuck, look what you're doing now, man. You're doing so well. And that's not because of anything that I did or anything that we did, but it was a series of events that compounded to create a series of moments for you that now you're living and walking in every day to live your own very personal version of success, which is so cool.
I think that time I messaged you about doing a story about us dropping the clothes, and obviously it eventually led to this. So you asked me how it went, obviously, and it went all good. So I let you know that, and I asked for some guidance. So I came up here and met up with you. Bro, I'm actually, like, you say you didn't have a big hand in that, but you honestly did, and like, you did, bro. And you do that for a lot of people, I think. So humility is probably massive, especially in the Māori Pacifica, especially in New Zealand. But I think there's times where you can pat yourself on the back. Pat, no pun intended. Pat yourself on the back, bro, because you're doing awesome things for.
Thank you, man.
For
Thank
us.
you. Yeah, that's my vision of success. Like, I define how well I'm going by how well the people that we're hoping to impact are going.
Yep.
That, and I have my own personal ambition, but it's hard because we're working out a new model. It's like impact, real life impact and commercial imperatives kind of like clash sometimes. We're trying to resolve that. I know there's business models that are suited for that, but we're trying to resolve it and figure it out, and we look to other people for guidance, but it's just really about doing well financially, so that as well as seeing that I'm a GC and like people can get access and do stuff, the other side of that is, what we achieve financially. So we build platforms that transact millions of dollars, that create millions of dollars in revenue, and we create impact.
Yep.
And for so many of our people, when you say I want to get into business, what do you want to get into business to do? I want to get into business to serve my people. Like, that doesn't really make, because business ain't really about that.
Yeah.
Business is about making money.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that we're trying to work that out. Hopefully we figure it out. I think we're getting closer.
Well, speaking of millions of dollars of revenue, obviously that set over there, Chooice, has done massive numbers since you started it. How did you sort of, because you co-founded it, right? With was it Monty?
Our whole business model here is about partnering with people to enable them and to take advantage of strategic big opportunities that we see.
Yeah.
And so with Chooice, we partnered with Sarah Colcord, who had the New Zealand Made Products Facebook group. And you've been around and you're as old as me, and you've seen groups come and you've seen groups go. You see pages come and accounts come and you see them go. Especially ones that look like they're about social impact. they come, they go, they have their moment, then they, you know, COVID disappears and then they disappear. They kind of fade into irrelevance. And, you know, we saw an opportunity to support a young woman to not be that, to not go down that path and take advantage of the opportunity. So we work actively behind the scenes to build this platform. We've invested, Indigo has invested heavily in the development of the platform and invested heavily in the development of Xero as an entrepreneur. You know, not experienced like all of us when we getting started. But it's about people, you know. And sometimes, you know, you invest in people and you know, it doesn't work out.
Yep.
Or, you know, you hit skids. And then you go, oh shit, I'm not going to invest in anybody else. But that becomes the test.
Yeah.
And so that platform going incredibly well, but, you know, probably in a really rough patch right now.
Right.
And needs to figure out how it's going to continue to operate.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, there's just commercial realities and human resource realities and relationship realities. Like, you know, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different dynamics that go on, personalities, and then direction, and, you know, sometimes ego. All of those things are reality of business.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reality of leadership. And when you've got a sizable team, those are the things that you have to deal with. So I don't want to come on here and act like everything's sweet, all about everything all the time.
Yeah.
It's fucking fun, but it's demanding. It's challenging, and money doesn't grow on trees. And I don't have, like, we got a lot of things here. I don't have a printing press for money, unfortunately. And so the reality is a business has to make money. Reality is businesses need strong leadership. You know, and sometimes you can't bring those things together. So you face a crossroads and you go, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so, you know, very purposely, we've talked about like the GMV, the gross value of the revenue that platform has created. And it could go on to be incredible, right? It's just a startup now.
Yeah.
It could go on to be incredible. But like the next version of Manaaki could go on to be incredible. Small Business Day, the first time was incredible. Next time might be useless.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know, right? All we have is that massive, consistent action that we keep on taking every single day to help get us that next step closer. So I don't take anything for granted, is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And all of that.
When I came up here that time, you talked to me about that little story, and I thought it'd be cool for you to talk a little bit about it. That with the blog and Complex, and you sort of had a hand in it, or you helped, and then you sold it off. And
yeah, that was a trip. That was actually pretty formative for me as well, because an old friend had recently come back to New Zealand, and I think that like he was rehabbing, you know, because living the high life in the UK, and came back to rehab. And while he was over there, though, had started this blog, street culture blog, that just like went off, was huge. At the time, it was like all about collaboration culture, so collabs. And it was like artists collaborating with sneaker brands, and sneaker brands collaborating with athletes, and, you know, so it was just all about collabs that were happening at that point in time in popular street and urban culture. And it went huge. It was doing millions of uniques a month, like millions of unique visitors a month. He came back when he hit the skids. We met up, and we put the structures and stuff around to start to build that company, because it was traditionally built out of the UK, and we started to build it out in New Zealand. It was going good. And so he wanted to relocate to New York to get closer to where the action was. And at that time, Complex Media, who a lot of people will know, which was founded by Mark Echo, the guy from Echo Unlimited, the fashion label, they had shown some interest in it, and they were handling all our advertising. So I'll never forget going up there, and I'd seen Mark Echo's, if you're a streetwear head, like, you know Mark Echo, and you know Echo Unlimited. And so I remember going to the office and seeing this massive glass window, like as high as our ceiling here, from his office looking out into the office floor, and like he had this basketball hoop over his desk, and he had this big ornate, like the King of France's desk or some shit, like these big velvet drapes and shit. And it was just like this, skater dude sitting behind his desk. But then went out, and it was like completely different, bro. It was like just cubicle farm. And in this cubicle farm was just all of these university students. And they were all just writing, creating blog posts for free to get their profile up so they could jump the queue at Supreme for the latest drop, or like they could have that kind of influence in their life, be seen on the platform. And in turn, they built massive scale into that platform. And that's like, because right back then, Complex, they represent like Complex Magazine, Complex Media, like High Snobiety, a bunch of those, what now are viewed as the OG blogs in the category. And we were fortunate enough to sell that business to those guys. Not that I saw any money out of it, but an exit is an exit.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. People bullshit about their exits. Like, yeah, man, I got this exit. Bruh, did you make any money, or did you just sell to get rid of your debts?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
An exit is when you exit and you get bank.
Yeah.
An exit that you're trying to paint as something else is not that.
Yeah.
And so that for me was not a great exit.
Right.
That was just getting out.
I didn't even really know about exits and stuff until you mentioned that. Like we talked about, obviously, my business and wanting to carry it through and pass it down through generations, and you sort of kind of gave me it is very difficult to do that, and sometimes
challenged it a little bit, eh?
Yeah, and it was a good way to think. It was a different sort of perspective that I hadn't thought of.
It's just like, I love it. I'm down for the legacy 100. But this ain't Romeo and Juliet, bro.
For sure.
This is fucking business.
Yeah.
And so,
if you're in growth mode for business, you're just starting up and you're trying to grow and scale, what is your focus point, in your opinion?
immediate traction.
Yep.
How do I determine factually if this business has the potential to be what I think it is?
Yeah.
And so just a little test that either proves to me that it has the potential or it doesn't. If it doesn't, out.
Right.
Cut my losses. Like, it's not your life's work. It feels like your life's work. You got to act in it like it's your life's work. Especially when you're young, though. A good business will take 5 to 10 years to grow. And if you're serious about building a business that has, substantial sort of capital, wealth, and exit kind of value. But a bad business you can identify in fucking 5 minutes with a couple of good tests. And I'd rather spend 5 minutes, or, 5 weeks, or whatever it is, figuring out that this business is rubbish and quitting, and spending 5 years flogging a dead horse in the hope for it's going to become something that I'm too attached. I'm too personally attached. I have no perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard in something before that you are obviously a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
You battled cancer yourself when you were young, early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s.
This might reach somebody that's
True
in that battle,
Yep.
or might face that battle at some point.
Yeah.
How did you go about it, bro? And what, mindset's probably going to be very tough when you get into that situation.
Just survive, bro. I don't have any fucking sagely points of wisdom. Cancer does not discriminate on race, age, color of skin, eyes, hair. It just is. It doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
It will affect us all. And so, but when you're young, you'd think the last thing it's going to do, not me. Like him, her, but not me. And so when you're in your early 20s, and I got testicular cancer as well, right? So as a young man, that's identified, that's,
those are my balls.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
and so you're like, that's your whole identity is tied up in that because you're pretty much still led around by your dick. So like that was like a major thing to have to deal with. And it was cool for a minute when I had this huge nut. I was like, yo, that looks, yeah, man. I like the look of that. But then I was like, nah, something's not right. So I go to the doctor, and I was expecting him to give me some antibiotics and come back in 2 weeks. He's like, oh, let me just do a couple of tests here. I was like, yeah, cool. Take my prescription for antibiotics after this, and we'll be all good. Because, you have to go to hospital. I was like, what? He goes, you have to go to hospital, go get these tests. I'm going to do some blood tests now, but I need you to go to hospital, do these tests. Went to hospital, they did all these tests and shit. Rang me back. Hospital rang back, need you to come in tomorrow. I was like, okay. Go get my antibiotics. It's like, no, Mr. MacFie, you have cancer. You have testicular cancer, and we have to remove your testicle. And you have to go downstairs for admission right now because it's really bad. And so I got admitted straight away.
Wow.
And then the next day I was in hospital having the exercise because I had cancer. And it was about to go boom through my lymph node system. And so they took it out. And then I went on the journey like so many other cancer survivors and people fighting cancer go on. But at that age, it's crazy because you think you're invincible. And then, it took me years to recover, but you feel that invincibility and that air of invincibility just evaporates overnight. And so I don't have any sagely words of wisdom about mindset for that. Just do everything you can to survive.
Yeah.
And then it's not like a disease you come out and you survive it and you feel like you're stronger.
Yeah.
You'll just like feel vulnerable for years.
Yeah, right.
You're like, oh, my back hurts. Fuck, do I have cancer in my back? Oh, my neck hurts. Fuck, do I have cancer in my neck? Oh, my leg hurts. Do I have cancer in my leg?
Scary, man.
It's like that forever.
Yeah.
Even now, still the same. Yeah, just survive, man. If you're fighting cancer right now, just do what you can to survive. And if you're trying to support somebody that's going through it, just love them wherever they are. They might be difficult. They might not be reasonable. They might be very selfish. They might be just fucking motionless in the bed. Whatever you can do, just love them where they are.
Bro, we'll just wrap it up a wee bit because you're a busy man. You got places to be.
We've been going for a minute.
We chucked the Q&A up on Instagram.
Oh.
So you got a few questions pop through. So we'll just run through them real quick. Do you think that those of Māori and Pacific origin have a natural gift in storytelling?
No.
And why?
We have incredible stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make you an incredible storyteller. Incredible storyteller has craft.
Yep.
And understands that craft and understands how to weave our narratives into beautiful stories.
Yep.
And I think that's the challenge. You don't wake up and you're an incredible storyteller.
Yeah.
You got incredible stories from the background and your people and your history and your culture. But telling stories eloquently, elegantly, inspirationally, whatever it is, that's an art and that's a craft.
Yep.
That takes work.
What car do you drive?
I got a black G-Wagon.
Oh. Dreams.
Matte black rims,
That's out the
black
gate.
custom leather interior.
Oh, just sleep in my car if I had that. Is real estate a good investment?
Yep. It just depends what you want in your life. Like owning a property, getting into the market. Yeah. I would rather invest my money in business.
Yeah.
I have a different mindset. But yeah, it's not that that's bad.
What's the best advice you ever received?
Fake it till you make it.
Really?
Not really.
No.
On the last day, the founder of Xero, he was at work and he was leaving, and he's a billionaire. And one of the guys at the office said to him, any advice, for other people that want to follow in your path? And he was just like, fake it till you make it. He, of course, was joking. Like, I was just joking. Now, the best advice I've ever been given is lose belief in everything. People around you, your friends, your family, but never lose belief in yourself.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That's a powerful one. It's two more here. Your first 3 steps when starting a business.
Number 1 is research, and look for the data that can validate or invalidates your original idea.
Okay, yeah.
What is there to substantiate whether this is a good idea or not? Look for data.
Yeah.
Once you understand the truth of the data, then number 2, if you decide to go ahead, run your first test to actually validate that the data is true for your particular business in your particular part of the world.
Okay.
Number 3, if you're able to validate and haven't quit at that stage, then number 3 is create massive traction fast for that very minimum viable product, that MVP. Create as many customers as you can quickly, as much brand traction as you can quickly for that proposition. That then gives you the confidence and demonstrates that financially this business can operate. Do those 3 things.
Nice. Last one, you've already sort of touched on this, though, is what do you invest in? So you obviously invest in businesses.
Invest in platforms. That's what we do, platforms.
Yep.
Because platforms have the ability to solve a problem very personally, but do it at scale.
Yep.
Content doesn't do that. And so if you look at any of the big exits that have happened, they're for companies that own platforms. So like Facebook, the platform for social connection, and
Yep.
Xero, the platform for small business transaction. YouTube, the platform for video sharing.
Yep.
Like, create a platform and you own the game. Create platforms, my friend. Create platforms.
Create platforms. Bro, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing some of your time. It's awesome to have you on the first sort of Hustlers one.
Yeah, it's good to be here, bro. Thank you for having me. First guest.
Thanks for jumping on, brother.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you.